feels like the start of a new season, or is there actually like a page you can turn and kind of just get the mindset, click back to zero or wherever it needs to be?
I mean, I think it's true for everybody. I mean, you'd like to be playing better ball going into conference, but no matter how good a ball you're playing, non-conference does matter and does count, but it doesn't count for any conference trophies. And so everybody outside of Portland State, Weber State are 0-0 in conference. They got together a couple weeks ago. So I wouldn't say it's necessarily a you scratch it. Naturally, the teachers and us say you got to learn from it, but it is a new season in the same season. Familiar opponents. Some of you haven't played for a while. We haven't got together with Montana for a couple years. So I think there's different components to that. I think it becomes maybe more real. The season's upon you. You know the season's going to start in August. You get ready for the season, but it becomes a little bit maybe more real when you start working on the right side of the record, when that indicates your conference record, because that's percentage-wise, that's where everything's going to lie at the end of the day. So we tackle the same one-week increments, and this is it'll be fun. 5 o'clock night game on the red against Montana to open up the conference. They're chasing their first road victory of the season, and they played pretty well in all 4 ball games. Been in back and forth ball games in 3 of the 4. So clawed back in a couple of them. So they've been tested. We've been tested, even though our records are just the opposite. We've been in 3 back and forth games. They've been in 3 back and forth games, and so it's all about Saturday night.
I know that there are things you obviously need to clean up with your record being at 1-3, but over these first 4 games, what is something you've seen out of your team that you like, that you want to continue or build upon, that you think will get you back into the right direction?
I think 3 of the 4 games we've started fast. We've started up 7-0. That was not the way it started last week. Obviously being on the road for 2 after being home for 2, kind of settling the waters a little bit now that we're going to be home this week, off of Louisiana, traveling a day, and then going to Reno 5-6 days later. That's never easy, no matter how the team plays. That's never easy to do. So we had our first taste of the road back-to-back weeks. The only time we'll do that all season will be the 2 games we just played, because we're back and forth for a conference. So we'll level. School starts tomorrow. That's always a nice addition with more people on campus. It's been 7 weeks with us staring at players staring at us. I'm not saying that that's not fun, but that gets old after a while. So there's some new stuff going on that hopefully will enhance and intrigue the guys with some newness to some things, and albeit the best newness is conference.
You mentioned getting better at things. You had to zero in on each side of the ball. Where do you have to get better against Montana specifically?
Yeah, I would say edges on defense. We lacked edges, and that's not just from a defensive line perspective. That's safeties, that's backers, that's corners. Based on the call, based on the offensive play we get, our edges weren't sound. When they were, we were way better, which is easy to say and consistent to say usually when you're in position to allow the other 9 or 10 to help you out, as opposed to trying to make the play that you probably shouldn't make the tackle, but you can still make the play without making the tackle by holding an edge and use your friends as leverage to make the tackle on defense. Offensively, more explosion in the pass game. I thought we started out the year with some short and intermediate passes. We broke a ton of tackles in that first game, which allowed our yards to be higher than you would think if we were to just throw the ball 8 or 10 yards downfield. We've got to capitalize. That goes with protection. Do I get the ball off? That goes to run the correct route, the right depth. That put the ball in the catch radius of the receiver. But if we can become more explosive through the air, not just in the short and intermediate game, that opens up a lot of doors for us, because I think consistently offensively we've been able to run the ball for a better part of 4 games, and not just because of the numbers, because of the way we feel about that offensive line, the tight ends, and running backs, and then I may add a 1B to the run game, more explosive run plays. We're going to run the ball at a good clip per carry. carry. But if we could push those to 3 to 4 explosive runs in a game, we become a little bit more dynamic and diverse in the play action and RPO game. So those would be two things, and then containment on special teams. We lost a little bit. We played really well for 3 games, ST-wise, and we kind of slipped a little bit last week. We didn't fall, but we were staggered a little bit by a few of those returns. And so we get back to where we were in the first couple games and put our offense and defense in better situations. The games turn out differently potentially than they were.
Bobby's teams are always really sound. What's the toughest part about playing against them?
They play at a pace most people don't play. Offensively, defensively, defensively and special teams for sure. He's definitely got a hand in both of those arenas. They play a ton of guys. They don't sit back and play quarters. They'll pressure you. They'll get you to move on 3rd and 4th down for years and years and years. Every 3rd and 4th down, there's a move call, some type of call on defense to try to scramble your eggs a little bit. They come from different areas. They drop out D linemen. They're experienced, maybe not as experienced in Grizz jerseys as they've been in the past, but from the standpoint of I think 7 or 8 of the 11 starters are seniors on defense, so they may not have accrued a ton of reps for them, but they've got a ton of experience in terms of being around that system. New defensive coordinator, and they're very dynamic on special teams. And now they are a little bit more explosive on offense. They're doing some different things, getting it 4 wide at times, running a lot of RPOs. They've got 2 quarterbacks that can win games. The Ayat kid is good. He's calm. He's cool. He's collected. He hasn't got a ton of starts, but his old man was pretty good. Watched that up close and personal a few years back, and his son has got a great future in front of him. But and not to mention an All-American receiver and All-American running back to boot. So they're scared in a lot of different ways, but defensively and special teams wise, they play harder than probably anybody we will have faced or will face this season.
Coach, you've got a ton of veterans who have probably experienced this similar start and this record last season. How do you think that they can change the trajectory for this season and maybe get the guys, maybe the younger guys, kind of rallied and say hey, we have the opportunity to change this?
Yeah, I think everyone wants the instant change. I mean it's the microwave world we live in. Everybody wants the now answer. And trust me, if we had the now answer, we'd probably implement the now answer because it hurts all of us. It's not easy to deal with, but when you have a mindset of commitment to your teammates, last year was last year. We can take some things away from last year. And in some areas we played better than we have through 4 games, and some areas we haven't played as well as we thought, in 4 games compared to last year. But last year's last year. If we live in the past and dwell in the past, then the future is we're gonna miss the future opportunities. And so again, it's just the age-old deal. It's a air quote new season. The 8 games in front of us are way more important from a standpoint of getting to where we intend to go than the first 4 games that are behind us. Not excited about the start. That's an understatement. But last time I checked, it's been around forever. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And so we've got to finish this week of practice to give ourselves the best chance this Saturday.
And it might be a little self-explanatory, but is there a different energy just with being back home between the staff and the guys, just, not having, like you said, that short turnaround back-to-back games on the road?
Yeah, I do. I think school matters. I do. I think, some guys are trickling in. I mean, JT Tuley came in. He's finishing up his degree, and he's been, removed for a few years. Just saw him walking the halls. I think there's just a different feeling when, there's more people on campus, when you're not, and it's tough at a quarter school when you go from essentially about 6:30 a.m. to about 9 p.m., no school. Then you start your first game, and then you're only around the 20-hour NCAA rule, and you have no school, and you only have 20 hours. So it goes from all to some real quick, and that's without school. So we've not had school. In a 12-week season, there will always be 4 games and essentially 4 weeks of practice before we start school. So that's what we're up against with a quarter system. But I think this week is different. Starting school tomorrow, a lot of those guys passed through the pillars. Those freshmen this morning, which is a tradition here on campus, and so there's just a different buzz. The students will be at the game, which will help the game day environment. It'll be a night game. Sun will go down, be about 70 degrees when we kick, but it is playing at home is different. We got to protect our home turf, and that red turf means a ton to a ton of people, especially those guys in the locker room.
Speaking of the red turf, I'm not sure if you saw it. Jake Diggert and the Cougs, they're going to Boise. They have to play on blue turf, and he mentioned yesterday that it might be easier on the eyes than the red turf. Do you have a response to that?
Coach Diggert's a great man, great coach, and I don't know him that well, but I know him enough. It's abnormal because it's not green, and It was hard on the ice for about a day back in 2010, and the green's not hard on the ice for me, and we practice on red every day. So to each its own. Opinions are beautiful. They're meant to start discussions, but there's no ending to this discussion, so he's entitled to his own opinion. I would throw that question to Cal Kreiner or Nick Edwards or Jeff Schmedding and ask them, because they're in the office every day, and they've done some time, and Alan Brown some time on the red turf. They'd probably have a better staff meeting discussion about that same topic than I would.
What do you remember when the first time you heard that they were going to turn the turf red out here?
Early indications were to talk to Michael Ruse, because he was going to be a big part of it. I have a very deep rooted relationship with Michael, having coached him, and now we're really good friends after the college coaching days have been completed. I have an affinity for him and his wife and son. But I do remember that was kind of the first step. Would Mike be interested, knowing that I had close relationship with Mike? And once he indicated that he wanted to have a conversation with Mark Hughes and Bill Chaves, they took it from there. But I will always stand by with what Bill told me before they even got things rolling, is whether they're talking bad about it or good about it, they're talking about it. So all pub is good pub, and we've held our own since that time, and it was a magical season that year. So I think the naysayers kind of didn't have much to say after that 2010 campaign, and it was just special in so many ways because it was put in, everybody had their opinion, and then by the time you knew it, we're down to Frisco, and Frisco was having the championship down there for the first time and hoisted the national championship trophy. So you couldn't write a better script, but it was all fast, furious, and finished in a matter of about 8 or 10 months. So it was a fun time. Never thought we were crazy, but like I said, everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
Last one for me. I mean, you've been around this conference longer than really anyone. What has led it to be such a dominant conference? I think half the teams or more in the conference right now are ranked. You have programs that have won national championships in this conference. What led to that? Because, I don't know if there's anything that gives it a leg up over other conferences, but you guys obviously seem to be one of the premier, if not the premier conference.
Well, I think a few things come to mind. I just ironically talked to Coach Choate this weekend, and we kind of talked about that same thing pregame at the 50-yard line. And I said I'd give him and his staff at the time a ton of credit for bolstering the conference when he was there for the couple years he was there before taking off. And Coach Vegan has done a great job of maintaining that. I think the coaches get a ton of credit for the recruitment of players. I think the players, student athletes recruited in high school, are seeing through some of the nonsense where go to where you're wanted, where you're coveted, doesn't matter what level it's at. And I think institutionally, I think that some of these teams have invested into their programs in their universities, which is the business model. You invest to get returns. And so I think a couple of those schools and the addition of Idaho back in the conference has made the conference that much stronger. But a few of those schools have annually over time, since about 10 or 12 years ago, have said, we're going to invest, which has made that team stronger, that school stronger, and this conference stronger. So there's a lot of thanks to a lot of people to get that done, which thanks is kind of tongue-in-cheek because it makes it harder for everybody. But the more you're battle tested in conference, the better you are on the other side of the hill of conference, if and when you get that opportunity. So seen it a lot of different angles in this league, and it's every year it seems like the last 4 or 5 years. I say the same thing, but it's so true that it's stronger than it was the year before, and much stronger than it was 2.5 decades ago for sure.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Appreciate it.